All right. Good Saturday morning, everybody. Episode 152 of Hobby Hotline. I'm joined by two great gentlemen. To my right on the screen, Dr. James Beckett, a man who I always say needs no introduction. Got to throw that one in there again. And also joining us, Yamwax Corey Donovan.
Morning, everybody.
Morning,
Good
Corey.
morning. Uh, First thing I want to kind of tackle on Thursday night, which a lot of people know, is Go GTS night. Uh, and Ivan Lovegren and Rob Bertrand do a great job with that show. They have a lot of guests on. They give away a lot of product, review a lot of product, talk to hobby news. Very professionally done. They do a great job. If you go to the national, running that main stage, which is not an easy task. And on Thursday's show, let me put up on Thursday's show, Ivan announced that he would be, stepping down. He's not leaving the hobby, just has some personal things going on, and he's going to be stepping down from that post. Anyone that knows, he has twin boys, and him and his wife are expecting a baby this year. So, gonna have he already has his hands. Well, I always credit content creators that have young children that do what they do and pull it off so seamlessly. I have a 22 year old, and it's not always easy. But so he's not going away. He's just going to be stepping down from the show. I've said my own. I sent them my own kind of good luck and congratulations. But I want to acknowledge it, right? I mean, when you do this, you realize all three of us and a lot of other content creators, it's not as easy as sometimes we make it look. There's a lot of research, and it can be a grind sometimes. So I want to acknowledge, Ivan's contributions to that show and the hobby. I don't know national wise if that's going to change, so I don't want to speak. I hope it doesn't on a personal. To be a little selfish, because him and Rob do such a great job, and but I wanted to take a moment just to kind of tip my cap, if you will, to Ivan on doing such a great job. If anyone else wants to kind of, I know you guys both know him. Kind of your thoughts on that.
Well, Ivan is a sweet guy, and I really respect and appreciate it. And I'm amazed by the work that he puts in, even without the little kids. I don't know a more active person on Twitter in particular. Very active, very giving, not only in public forums, but in private chats too. He's just very, very engaged and connected. And I wish him well, and I'm excited that he's actually going to take some time with the baby coming. So tough to have that content not there. He does an awesome job, but kudos to him for being a good dad.
Totally agree. I just think we need to not make it hard for people to take a break. Even though this is the greatest hobby in the world, it shouldn't be the most important thing in your life. So it's an important thing. And so, if somebody wants to take a break, like you said, John, people think that I think some of the stuff in podcasting that they think is really hard is not that hard, but other stuff that non-podcasters do, they people think it's easy and it's hard, or they think it's hard and it's easy. But it's a labor of love, and Ivan really put himself into it. So I don't want to make it difficult for him to take a break, and the circumstances of life. The hobby is what gets in the way of your family more so than the other way around. So
Yeah.
I encourage him to do what's best for himself and his family.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's a smart guy. So whatever he decides to do, I mean, it's going to be in the best, like you said, he's a family guy. It's going to be in the best interest of his family. I've always said, when the time comes, there's going to be nothing on my headstone that says, great podcaster, great collector, great hobby content creator. I hope it says, very good husband and father. And great point by you, Dr. Jim. I mean, that's where the focus needs to be, because that's in the long game and the short game. That's what it really needs to be about. And again, like you said, even if it's just a break, maybe you need to take a pause. You can always come back when if and when the time is right. So it's just I guess a goodbye for now. But he's not going away. He's still going to be active on social media. And this isn't like I'm leaving the hobby. I'm getting rid of all cards and you won't see me. No, this is just right now going to take a pause from the show, and we'll still see Ivan, and he's gonna have plenty of time to be dad, to hear very shortly 3 kids, and that's always fun. I miss those days with a 22-year-old too. So,
Is Ivan
all right, yeah,
replaced?
go ahead.
Is he going to be replaced, or is Rob going to do a solo show?
I have not heard. If someone wants to put in the chat, what I've just heard that he was stepping down. So, why are you looking for the gig, Dr. Jim?
Oh, I thought they'd be calling you, John, because there's only
Yeah.
100. You're
If
looking
if
for
I
another
ever
podcast.
if I ever did that, honest to God, I would have to stop something. I mean, or get divorced, because I don't know how that would all go together. But that's whoever it is. All joking aside, that's big shoes to fill. But we'll see. I didn't hear what future plans were, or anything like that. So that'll be interesting to follow that storyline too, as well. So before we get into really our first topic, couple good morning, Dr. Listening as he does some community service, helping out at the food pantry. That's awesome. Card hobbyist. Morning, people. Hit the thumbs up. Yeah, hit the like and subscribe. I have the link thrown across the bottom. I'll also put that in the chat for those who may want to call in and come on, and that sort of thing. Let me. Our first topic, guys, is Prism football and parallel and variation. Ryan Cracknow as always, does a great job at tracking some of the things. Let me put up his post. I'm talking about him. Let me put up there his post on Twitter. And so he said, just went and checked historical data for the past couple of years. Total number of different cards for Prism football, including parallels. In 2017, it was 8,300. In the next year, 2018, 9,100. The next year, 2019, jumped to 13,400 and change. 2020, 18,754. And let me, I think I'm blocking it with the banner. 2021, I believe it's almost 24,000, 23 and change. And so we've seen this number go up. A lot of people asking why. I think number one, they're just making different type of parallels. We've seen, zebras and leopard and tiger, and name your animal refractor skins, right? But a lot of people are worried, or concerned, I should say. Maybe they're just making a lot more each year. And Prism always is that premium feel, sort of based that wasn't overproduced, or the demand outweighed the supply kind of thing. So a lot of people are just wondering if maybe the bloom maybe is a little bit off the rose. Your thoughts? I know, Yam, you brought this as your topic to bring to the show. I'll let you kind of chime in here first, what you think this may indicate.
Sure. Well, I think there's a couple of topics here in a way, right? Like it's first of all, 2021 Prism football just hit the shelves a few months well past the Super Bowl at this point of the previous season. So
Yep.
this is just a bellwether of the of the printing of product pushing back almost a full season cycle beyond the season, and what does that mean for the card market? The other topic, of course, is this overprinting and just seeing that steady rise over time since those 2012 Prism prints. He's not even looking back that far. So, to me as a collector, that makes me even more interested in some of those early years of Prism. But some concern about the overprinting of Prism, what that means, people getting too excited at launch of these products. We just saw Wrestling Prism, WWE that is, come out at astronomical prices, single selling for incredibly high prices. Some of us get concerned, does that have sustainability when we've never really seen wrestling pop right out of the gate like that? And I imagine we're going to see very similar single sales on some of this Prism. And when there's 32 different animal prints of an individual card, how special is each parallel as this count grows and the amount of product on the shelf booms. But at the same time, it shows the demand of whether it's the hobby or the Prism product. That this product, it doesn't collect dust there at Target or Walmart. It sells, and then there's a healthy secondary market in the moment, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm thinking about people who do rainbows of like their favorite player, or they're super collectors, and they have to get that rainbow. It used to be a lot easier, right? It used to be 5 to 10 different cards potentially, and now it can be, a rainbow could be probably 75, 100 cards now, and that's crazy. I mean, even if I was going to attempt to do that, that would be pretty discouraging to know. Even when you knock off 5, I still got 70 more to pick off before this is ever complete, if it's ever going to complete. And that's without even factoring the cost of that. Take the cost out; it's a daunting task just on the quantity alone. Dr. Jim, you've seen cards through the years, and your fingers on the pulse. Vintage, modern. Your thoughts on some of these numbers that Ryan brought up here.
Well, it's a different application of what has happened, I think, my whole hobby lifetime, is that generally the hobby has had an onward march, that there are more cards printed each year. Not necessarily, this is about more different cards, but just the production quantity of Prism each year has increased. That's probably healthy for a hobby. But what the potential criticism is, which didn't happen to Topps in the 50s and the 60s, is that the sets were not more complicated each year. They've just printed a little bit more. That's why older was considered better. Well, with Prism, the same level of Prism card and serial numbering or tiger stripes or whatever, those ratios kind of evolve to where the product is so much more expensive. You think it's the same thing as the year before, but they're making more of it, and there are more different cards, more complexity, and it costs more. And so even with these really strong brands, which Prism obviously is, collectors and, dealers even need to be thinking, okay, let's do the math on this, because every year it's squeezing it a little bit more. And I don't think, just like people don't try to collect complete sets of most products anymore, and certainly not master sets, but I don't even think people they could aspire to have a full rainbow, but that's not even realistic if it's a popular player. There's too many people who they're one of ones, and very, very short numbered things. So it's in effect changing the way people collect. But again, it's affirmation that the older Prism, the better, in the sense of scarcity and potential relative value. And I applaud Ryan for putting it out there, because an informed collector can say, you know what, either that's making these current years look kind of overpriced, or the earlier Prism cards. That's the WWE thing. If you get a first Prism card, that's a thing now.
Yeah, I mean, look what UFC did out of the gate, Prism wise. I mean, even the second year product was 4 figures a wax box. We're seeing singles that aren't even rookie cards, just bring in crazy amount of money. And it's a good point. You got will we see more people sort of go back to some of the earlier Prism releases and try to pick off singles, or just for what they're going for, it might be a better value play. Like, hey, there's a less of these, and the price doesn't reflect that as much as the overprice of some of the newer current stuff. Might we see people do that? It'll be interesting to see that dynamic and whatnot. So
Well, it's not deterministic. I mean, basically, you have greater supply and greater demand for this year's cards. And so to compare to a 5-year previous card of the same brand, the same serial numbering, the same parallel, the same color, whatever, uh, again, there's less demand and less supply. And so is that an equilibrium where the cards are going to be the same if it's the same player, a non-rookie? Uh, you just but you need to do that analysis and say, how bad do I want this card? How do I collect? What's the nature of my collection? If I'm a player collector and I don't have it, I'm going to try to get it for a good price.
Yeah, I think you're going to see. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh,
Corey.
Doug, your positioning really makes me think of what a lot of companies are facing in this inflationary environment right now, and companies are always doing to consumers, which is you think of like the product managers for a Snickers bar. They're thinking right now, do I drop this thing from 5 ounces to 4.5 ounces to still make our margin on the sales, or do I raise prices? Now, consumers hate both. I think they really hate when they get duped though. When you get that Snickers bar out of the machine, it's like, is this a little bit smaller for the same price, right? And right now, people are paying the same prices or more for not shrunken product, but shrunken scarcity in this case. And it's interesting economics for these companies, but the fact is there's still demand, so they can do it.
Well, and there's more chase cards. Ryan he didn't segregate it out, Cracknell, of how many of those 24,000 or 18,000 or 13,000 are numbered to 10 or less or whatever. Because I mean, a lot, and some of the animal prints they don't disclose, I don't think. But of the really tough ones, they're putting more really tough ones in the products. Otherwise, they couldn't justify the price increase.
Yeah, and I do love the approach of flipping through dollar boxes, $5, $10 boxes at shows. And when I find a chunky 2012, 2013 Prism card of a good player star, someone I enjoy, I never feel bad about picking those up at shows. It's always something I'm glad to throw in my box because I just feel good about where those numbers are.
It's funny. It takes master. People like to build master sets, especially back in the day. It takes that to a whole crazy level. I mean, it's almost impossible, quite frankly. Now, obviously, with the 101s, it pretty much is impossible. But even taking those out, I remember the days, in a 792 card set, a master set might only be 900 cards total with that 792 card set. Now we're looking at 20,000 card master sets potentially. You need like 4 or 5,000 count monster boxes to house. If you weren't putting them in binders, if you're just keeping them loose, think about 4 monster boxes. That would be the equivalent of a master set of that release, and with every card being individually different than the other. That's to me, that's just I can't even grasp my mind around that. And but that's where I think even rainbow people do rainbows of their player. It's to the point now where they're probably not even going to try. It's just, hey, like Yam said, I'm at the show, I'm looking through a box. If I see that card and it's priced right, I'll just pick it up and I'll get what I'll get. But to get 50 different ones, it's a daunting task. A couple comments here. We'll get to the Herman. Good morning, folks. Logan says my headstone will say gone to Target. John Keating here, kind of what we're just talking about. More player collectors now versus set builders. I used to build sets when I was younger and had more room. I have less room and less time, so I don't do sets now. I just buy individual cards. DR Dan Ryan says, hey, he didn't want to take. I'm the director of the pantry, so it's work and hobby hotline. A good combination. I agree. And Dr. Dan also asked, Dr. Beckett, is there any lessons to be drawn from the high inflation of the late 70s and today in relation to the hobby, or the eras too different to learn from the past? Great question. It's kind of a topic we're going to kind of delve even more. I have on the docket for today, but since he brought it up, it's directed to you, Dr. Jim. I'll let you kind of handle that one.
Well, I think the bigger issue is just the economic uncertainty of, the less confidence in the stock market. So it's not a single issue, but when you're in a high inflation period, you want to own stuff rather than having cash on the sidelines because your cash is eroding in value. And the stuff you'd think, well, I'll buy, public company stock. I'll just buy and hold. Well, that hasn't worked so well the last few months. But cards, again, guys, we know because we're into it. It depends on what cards. If if you got the wrong stuff, it can be going down in value as well. You got to have some knowledge. It's just like you can't say, I'm going to buy some stocks. I mean, you need to have some concept or strategy that I'm going to buy blue chips or something. And there's equivalent strategies in sports cards, whether you're going to buy new or vintage or unopened. But I think anytime you have this, well, I mean, again, it's the greatest hobby in the world. It's counter-cyclical. It's also cyclical. It can work either way. So, through it all, I think us guys and many of the listeners are going to continue collecting. And whether it's collecting, investing, dealing in that order, we're all secretly or not so secretly pleased if things go up. And if it's an inflationary environment, we'd expect them to go up.
It's funny too that I recently, as many know, I know we talked about it, Dr. Jim. I acquired that 4849 Leaf Jackie, paid for it out of my business account, but I share stuff with my wife. She knew it was coming; she had to sign for it, and I told her, what it cost and what it was. She knows what it means to me, but she was a little like, really, for one card, and I tried to explain to her probably better that having the money in that one card might be better than the 401k account, because every time I get my statement each month lately, that number is getting smaller and smaller. I even tried to talk her into, like, some of our joint money, putting it into the cards. No such luck there. I'm half kidding there, but that's it's a great point, Dr. Jim, that, like you said, certain cards are probably better to have than the money in your 401k. Now, I'm not telling anyone to go empty or take the penalties and empty your 401k out early, but I mean, there are, that's a great point that, you can kind of move your stuff around. And if you're smart about it, you can probably be affected less than the person to the left or right of you potentially. And, that's where we're at. I just know from my 401k, every time I get my statement and it's a little less each month, I'm like, man, I almost want to, you know, to take it out and put it into something that's not dipping in the same percentage wise, but easier said than done. We have a guest. I'm going to bring him on from the Cousins Collectibles podcast, cousin Tony.
Guys, what's going
Welcome.
on?
What's up, cousin Tony?
Nothing much. How you guys doing?
Good. How's things in Philly?
All right, man. I'm just sitting here running a basketball tournament. This is kind of what funds my hobby habit, and I'm watching you guys. So just want to drop in and say hello. You guys are doing a good job out there, man.
Thank you. What any thoughts on anything we kind of touched on that you want to chime in at all, or?
Yeah, just real quick, and excuse me, real. Thanks, brother. Just I'm with the collecting just the singles and stuff like that. So that's something that's something I can definitely relate to. But yeah, just kind of echoing what Doctor said. It's it's crazy how this thing is changing so much. And yeah, again, just want to kind of just drop in and say hello, and just let you know we're out here listening.
We appreciate it. You're welcome anytime. That goes for anybody else too. How hard was it to do? Just jump on, right? Just
Yeah, easy. Just
punch in
copy
the
and
link.
paste the link. Yeah,
Yeah,
copy and paste the link, and
and no
very,
one's
very
going to be
simple.
uglier than me. So there's a safe. You can hedge your bet. It's a safe bet. So, but
We got you here for a minute. Tell us who you're prospecting on for the Eagles this year.
So, well, AJ Brown. Not that he's a prospect, but he's a guy that we're looking to hopefully. Well, put it this way: Hurts has no more excuses as far as I'm concerned. So, so I guess you could say Hurts is the guy you want to prospect, but I don't know that the Eagles as an organization are in love with him. So, although they are surrounding him with weapons, so this is kind of a prove it or lose it year for him as far as I'm concerned. But definitely looking at AJ Brown, just because I think he's going to eat up a lot of targets, and actually Devontae Smith too, because that actually should open up additional. Last year he was getting a lot of coverage rolled his way, so maybe that's a guy to get now on the cheap and kind of see where he goes.
well, John Keating, our fellow hobby hotline host, who's also from Philly, he says, cousin Tony says, book your Super Bowl flights now, folks. So
That would be nice.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I won't go that far, but I appreciate hometown loyalty and rooting for your team. But you can be a Steeler fan like me and not know what. We got three quarterbacks, right? And we're not sure which one is going to get the. I got a feeling, but we don't know officially yet. So
Yeah, if you
and
have three
another.
quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterback, right?
Yeah. Here we go. Also, John Key says Cowboys next year is your year. So.
Yikes. So you're good guys. All right, guys. Well, let me let you guys go again. Keep up the good work. Take care.
All right, cousin Tony. Hey, thanks for popping on with us.
Yeah.
Take care.
See
Have
you.
a great
Bye
weekend.
bye. You too.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Hey, background noise isn't every audio engineer's what they're looking for, but when I can hear a basketball tournament in the background, I think that only adds to my morning. I love it.
Listen, Corey. I don't know if you caught last Saturday's show. His background noise was better than us from Dallas and cowbells and adults acting like middle school guys. Yelling and screaming. I thought the second, like I said on the show, I thought the second LeBron Logan Man 101 was pulled by all the noise coming out of that kiosk. But so we'll take happy kids playing sports over grown men kind of acting foolish 8 days a week. But awesome for cousin Tony. They got a great show called the Cousins Collectibles Podcast. They've been on my show. I've been on theirs, and really down to earth guys, and the show's really great and getting better the more as they do it. So happy to have Tony kind of jump on. As always, got to put this up. Good morning from New Buffalo, Michigan. You're on the big screen here at the shop. So there we go. And as John Keating says, no cowbells this week. I was debating. I have one downstairs. I was debating starting off the show with it, but I said no. We had enough. We had enough of those last week. So we'll skip the cowbell this week. Any kind of before we go on to the next topic, any kind of closing thoughts on this one?
I think kind of highlighted what we're all looking at. It'll be interesting to see how this trends over time, and it is interesting to see if there is one of these parallels that pop over others. We know the golds and the those base one of ones and some of those items do, but like what do the extra one of ones ultimately prop up the main one of one? Does it make those classically collected cards more in demand over time? That's the fun thing about collecting is we get to watch these things happen over time, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, even the last couple years, I went back. I've always done vintage, and I've said this, probably like I've really brought my focus even more so back on that. Not just for my personal collection, but even when I do shows, I just want to carry more of a vintage selection. And I've seen more younger people come up to my table, and I'm talking in single digits, teens, 20s, ask for players, that before they were even born, and that's always warms my heart, guys, when I see that people kind of respect history or going back and collecting those players that paved the way for the games today. And I think we're going to see that trend, I think, continue the more the way current things are going. So this is another YAM topic. It's a great one, and it's down markets then versus now. So I don't want to speak for you, Corey, but you were basically saying you never really experienced a down market, being in your collecting years, where maybe me and Dr. Jim have, like, the comparisons then versus now. I mean, I'll answer it real quick. First, I think we have more collect. I don't know if Dr. Jim will agree. I think we have more collectors now than then. When I say then, my first thought is that was that '90s kind of downturn, that really, around the baseball strike and that sort of thing. I think we have more people in the hobby now. Obviously, content creation really didn't exist back then, or not. We had TV, but we didn't have podcast and YouTube, and so that's a factor. There's more people talking about it than in the '90s. Put more attention on it. You could say, well, there was more companies in the '90s when you had, Tops, Fleer, Upper Decks, Score. I know I'm probably Donruss. Now we have fewer card producers that are dealing with the down market. So that's my initial when I think of then versus now. But Dr. Jim is more versed to really speak on this too. So I'll acquiesce to him. And your thoughts here, Dr. Jim.
Well, I always say, I think since the beginning of time, it's been, for the most part, a mixed market. I mean, there were times when most things were going up, and then there were some stagnant times. But there's just this perception that gradually cards are fun and they're going to hold their value over time. Maybe having a down time. So if it's a dip, what I see, and I think I've seen for 50 years now, is that people, if they really need the money, then they got to sell their whole collection. If whether it's an up market or a down market, if they don't really need the money or they need a little bit of money, I think most people, if they're a true collector, they don't want to sell their best stuff. So they're going to put back their best stuff because that's untouchable. That's stuff I really care about. And so, in effect, that can hold the better stuff can hold its value because it's not being sold in a distress sale. But the mediocre stuff or the mid-range stuff, can be very soft, and you can really get deals on that. And I think that's always been there. So if it's off condition or not, not the top rank Hall of Famers, um, non-rookie cards, the best of the best just doesn't get put out usually unless people think, hey, I'm going to get a world record price. If I'm going to take a haircut, I don't want to sell my best card.
That's a great
So
point, Dr.
us
Jim.
collectors are, looking at our Grail hit list, checklists, and thinking, boy, we're licking our chops. These are going to come to market, and we're going to get great deals on them. That's one thing I'm coming to realize is that I think it looks like fewer of those are going to come out. And when they do, there's a bunch of us that still want them, and they're still in demand. So it's not as reflective as those recessionary pressures across lower and mid-tier cards.
That's why
get some cards first, our checklist and set list, but not necessarily our grails. Doesn't seem like the opportunities are there.
That's why the Fleer Jordan rookie is a deceptive kind of a grail card, because there's so many of them in PSA 10, BGS 9.5, PSA at 9s. It's not a short printed card. You expect to get 2 or 3 in every box, and there's still some boxes. But is it drying up now? There's a steady stream of those cards coming in. So I'm talking about the grails that you only see every once in a while. I mean, the Jackie that John got, kudos to that. But it's, there are more of those coming out than 5 years ago you didn't see them very much. Now the price it's really run up, and you'll see some things out there. So I'm talking about the next level of scarcity. But every level of scarcity means people are going to hold off. They don't want to sell their best stuff, and that's relative to what they have, I think.
It's a great point, Dr. Jim. When I do shows, and when I'm prepping, the week before the show, making sure I'm a pricer, so I make sure everything's priced and current. People don't always like to ask, and even going through my show inventory, and when I'm checking, the pricing and where it's at, and I'm like, I don't want to sell this for. I buy more for that.
Exactly.
Even though that's I'm not going to put this out, and I'm not trying to be mean, but like for that price, I'll buy some. I know it's comp, but I think we've all probably paid a comp or over a comp, if you will. And so there's some stuff I don't even bring. I'll leave it at home. I don't even want to tempt someone. If someone asks for them, like I don't like saying, yeah, I have one. I didn't put it out because I don't want to sell for it. So that doesn't help it. People don't like to hear that. So I'll even just leave it. I won't even take it with me to the show I'm doing just to avoid that. And sometimes I'll get asked if I have it. I'll be like, I'm buying them for what they're going for right now because I'd like to get more at that level. And it stinks that you can't put everything out. Well, I mean, you can, but I know dealers. I'm sure you guys know this too. That we'll put that stuff out and just price it over comps and say, hey, I can't do that. I don't like to do that. I don't like to overprice stuff. Really, just my own personal etiquette. I rather just not put it out there and avoid that when possible. But it has certain those cards that are scarce level that are still sort of not as affected as other cards. Like Dr. Jim said, you're starting to see more. Truth be told, the Jackie's a great card. I love owning it now, but it's on my saved searches list, and that's top. Those notifications are more now than ever before. I think I'm gonna talk about that on Monday show about that sort of how I kind of lucked. I don't want to say luck, but definitely luck was a part of it in acquiring it finally. So, all great points. Go ahead, Corey. Sorry about that.
Hey, John. Sorry, your video's chopped, so I couldn't tell if you were done. But what I was going to say is like I'm not a huge wax guy, but I like to open it with discretionary income as a father-son thing. I open it with my 10-year-old, and that's really where I go to for wax. And so right now, I don't know what it is. Is it the market going down? Is it more supply? Is it just changes in the mania around the hobby right now? But there's more products sitting on the shelves at Target at that $20-$30 blaster box. And it's been great, to be able to go every week or every other week and grab a box or two, whether I'm picking up, a soccer box or baseball, basketball boxes. They're usually on the shelves for a couple days as opposed to a couple minutes like 6 months ago. And to have that ability to just have some fun with my son, it's worth the $25 for me easily. And it's great to see that it's out there. So that is a benefit potentially of the market changing, or I'm not quite sure. Is it just that they're printing like crazy right now?
I will say this. I went to Walmart yesterday, not for cards, but anytime you go to Walmart, right, and you're in the hobby, you're gonna check out what the card aisle looks like. Our Walmarts here in New York have them behind kind of a metal barrier gate where you have to ask someone if you want anything. It was full shelves. The only thing I did not see, quite frankly, was the 2022 Bowman, but pretty much everything that you would find retail in a Walmart hobby wise was on that shelf. Now I don't open as much new stuff as I once did, so I didn't wind up buying anything. I probably would have grabbed a box or two of Bowman had it been on the shelves, truth be told, but that was the only thing I didn't see. People will argue that's not a good thing, that the shelves are full again and that people aren't buying them, or people will argue, it's a glass half full, glass half empty, that it's great that it is available. As someone that every once in a while likes to open some stuff, it is great that maybe now you can grab something for the most part, like you said, Corey, with you and your son can partake in that, and others as well. But yeah, I don't know if it's more production. There's people who argue that we're in the junk wax 2.0 era. I won't go that far, but there's people that make that claim. Dr. Jim, your thoughts on, I mean, only the manufacturers know for sure, but people are doing the math, like Dr. Jim said, and figuring out odds, and people can tell you, or at least they figure out how many boxes they think are produced. Dr. Jim, your thoughts on
It's,
production?
it obviously they're printing more each year, and that's
Yeah.
not even a bad thing. But if it's way too, they just need to keep the supply and demand equilibrium kind of reasonable. Like you said, we don't want the Walmart and Target shelves to be empty, but we don't want them to be super full either. So I mean, again, it's just it's 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 business. It's difficult. It's not. In fact, it wasn't great a couple of years ago when everything was selling immediately. The companies aren't pleased with that. They have to make decisions about quantities, in advance. They can't just all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to do some more boxes because they've already used their assets and already put them in the packs. So I think it's challenging, and I just hope. And the other thing that not necessarily troubles me because I think I know some of the people, but I always like it if the card companies take a long-term view of this category. And with Fanatics coming in and Panini being potentially a lame duck, I'm hopeful, and Topps was in that situation for some number of months, that you hope they don't change their strategy to have more of a short term, let's get as much as we can as quick as we can, and not worry about 3 years from now.
I'll give
So
you a
there. Oh, go
perspective
ahead.
from a 10-year-old in the hobby is and it shows, that there are products that still are in demand, fly off the shelves. And that was, say, WWE Prism. Because it's Prism, first year product, I think there was a heavy demand for that. I'm not sure. I think the secondary market's a little weaker than people thought, but people are buying that off the shelves. And I wanted to get some for that, just opportunity to do it with my kid. And when I went out of town to a small town, I found a box on the shelf and I brought it home. He was delighted. He was so excited. And we don't even, he doesn't even know that many wrestlers, but he knows a couple. He knew he could get The Rock or something like that. And we opened it, and a highlight, I think, of his hobby year so far was pulling just a base Gable Stevenson, the Olympian, who just won the gold medal for wrestling, and he's new to WWE. But he's from our home state, University of Minnesota. And he was ecstatic, and it's on his shelf right now. So it still creates there's demand for those premium products, and they still delight kids.
Yeah, that's awesome, and all it takes is one card. I opening that pack. I try to give packs out to kids when I set up at shows. You never know what that potentially could lead to. It doesn't hurt. It's just good promotion. And here's kind of along those lines here from Dan Ryan. He said, I picked up a number to 149 Mia Hamm auto card for my daughter's Hall of Fame autograph card collection. It was the first time I spent $100 on one card, but I sold 33 to $4 cards to purchase it. So there you go. You kind of upgrade. That's for his daughter, and something as she gets older, she can look back on, and be a future card collector, and that's important. So John Keating piggybacks, saying that's awesome. We'd love to see more female collectors and more females being collected, and I think we are. Shout out to Mark Hoyle, says he's hanging out at the pool in Aruba listening to us. I got, if you're in Aruba, and I love this show, I don't know if I'd be thinking about Hobby Hotline, but thank you just the same, Mark. We appreciate that. So and enjoy your, I'm assuming, vacation in Aruba. So, and another comment here from Hobby Champs. Where did it go? Did I pass it? I don't know. Maybe he took it off the board. I saw it, but here we go. And there's one from Logan I want to put up there. There's always going to be a lag in manufacturing print runs and demand. That area in which demand is low is an opportunity to build collections and inventory. And I want to put Logan brings out some Prism. Right here. So this is I found interesting. I didn't know this till he put. So Logan Ward, also part of Hobby Hotline, big NASCAR guy, as most know. 2021 Prism NASCAR is a 90 card base set plus inserts, autos, and parallels. I just calculated all of the different colors, and you are looking at 4,090 different cards just for NASCAR. Which, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, is on the lower of the food chain when it comes to hobby products, and he'll tell you that himself. And yet, there's 4,000 if you're doing a master set of 2021 Prism NASCAR, you're looking at filling up almost full a 5,000 count monster box to do that. So I mean, even on some of the lower products, if you will, or not as in demand. I don't want to say lower, but maybe not as in demand products. You're still looking at a 4,000 card master set or different cards if you were trying to get everyone made. That's crazy to me, but that's just where we're at now. I think the rainbow days are kind of fade into the rear view mirror, and I think we're just seeing less and less set collectors and whatnot. So any thoughts before we move on to probably our last topic, gentlemen?
Well, Logan could probably do this better than we could, but I mean, basically, out of those 4,090 cards, how many of them have the potential to be more than $100? Is it a
Yeah.
few hundred? I mean, there's got to be some allure, some catch, some hook to why people are going to uh, pay bigger bucks for Prism as a brand. They've got to think they're going to be having the potential to get a really good card of their favorite driver.
Yep, and I'm not a NASCAR guy, but Val Mars said to me, what was it, over a year ago? He's like, John, you ought to buy some 2020 Prism boxes and just put them on your shelf. So he talked me into it. So on my shelf over there, I'm looking. There's two boxes of not 2020, 2018 Prism NASCAR that they're sealed. I'm not necessarily a NASCAR collector, but on advisement from a guy I consider, very smart in that niche. He said you should buy them and just put them away. Haley Deegan's first cards, and so took his advice. It's that product's gone up and down depending on different times. It's to me, I just put it on the shelf and kind of forget that it's there, and it's a long term. Product, and we'll kind of revisit it maybe some other time. But I put up on the screen there, those in the chat room, what are you buying right now with some prices coming down? If you want to share that, if you want to keep it secret because you don't want to let the cat out of the bag, I get that too. But for those that like to share that, we can put it on the screen. But the last thing, we got about 9-10 minutes left. We're under 2 months away from the National, Atlantic City. I'm looking forward to it. It's drivable for me, so I can bring more stuff. My wife's making the trip, although you will not see her on the convention center floor. She'll be on the beach with a drink and a book and an umbrella, enjoying that. But Ray Schulte announced on my show that trade night will once again be done by Card Collector 2, Ryan Johnson, in conjunction with, I think, the Roadshow guys. Panini's going to be involved. But this time, instead of being an offsite, it's going to be in-house on the convention center floor. So that'll be different. Dr. Jim has never missed a national. And, kind of your thoughts as we're less than 60 days out from the show. What, obviously, we're looking forward to seeing everybody and meeting everybody again. But just talk a little bit about that, Dr. Jim, as we kind of approach the national.
Well, I actually have some concerns about having a trade night on the show floor with respect to security and
Yeah.
dealers feeling they have to be there maybe just to protect their stuff. Trade night, as I understood its original conception, is you bring in your Zion case or your Pelican case. Say, hey, here's some great cards I've got for trade. Not, hey, here's my booth, and what do you want to trade for in my booth? So it's hard to have security for 1,000 booths and people wandering around after midnight. So I'm sure they've got it figured out, but like I say, as a dealer, after spending a long day on your feet, um, and then you're going to have to be there until the middle of the night. That we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. It's going to add to the excitement. I will say that.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I was just in Dallas. I attended Dr. Jim's content creation dinner. Awesome. I appreciate being included. They had a trade night there. I'm not a trade night guy. Number one, I usually don't out of town shows. I don't have a lot of stuff on me to begin with, unless I bought it at the show itself already. And I'm more of a buy and sell guy. I buy stuff I want and sell stuff. You know, by show inventory. And so,
Yeah, that's
you
exactly
know,
what it says here. It feels less like a trade night because now at these shows, every night is trade night. Every hotel
yeah,
lobby is a trade night. They've had the other trade night events and dinners, and this is an extension of the trade, the show floor, basically another event, and that means security. That means people working longer hours. I can see the concerns there, but it does create a buzz. And Ryan's a great, ambassador for the hobby as well, and so he adds to that. And so I think it is an extension of the show as much as anything. But I will say this, John, this is the second month in a row where you pop something out about the National, and it gets me thinking, I got to book my tickets here now.
well, that's what I'm. That's what I'm that
Oh,
little voice in your head, maybe a little bit bigger voice in your head.
yeah,
That's
it's
hey,
shouting,
you better get going, right?
right?
Yeah, and I hope to see you there. So if I got to
For sure.
call you up or text you each day, just let me know. I'll gladly do that for you as a friend. But yeah, and going back to what, so I went to the Dallas one, and it was funny because some of the dealers from the daytime show were still there at their tables. Some weren't, had everything bagged up with the locked bags. But I thought it was kind of odd as a show dealer, right? Like I think any of the shows I've done never had a trade night. They're usually, they don't, or it's a 1 day type of deal. But I'm thinking to myself, you pay your table fee, and then people are coming in and kind of, setting up makeshift tables and selling. Some of these are not all trades. A lot of these are sales. And I'm thinking, man, that's the way to do it. I don't have to pay a table fee, or at least not as high as one as setting up at the show for 8 to 10 hours, sell a few big cards potentially, and get out of there. And my ROI is a lot better. And plus, let's be real. Let's call a spade, right? You set up at a show, and at least in most shows, you got to show a tax number, or let your sales tax payers. Some of these folks set up at trade night probably not qualifying under those terms. And so if it's a cash deal, or what have you, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I think a majority of them are probably not reporting that per se. And it's a great deal for them. But if I'm the show dealer, I'm like, hey, what's going on here? I could see a little bit of, being up in arms. And great point here by John Keating. Trade night definition has evolved in the last year. Used to be lobby lights. Now it's on the floor, as Dr. Jim says, and sales happening, which is not a trade night. That's what I did. I think it's more of it's almost like an extended hour sales night rather than trade night. And then he says, hey, pretty soon, right? Trade nights are going to require a separate admission. Hey, you're good for the show during the day, but if you want to come back tonight, starting at 8 p.m., here's what it cost you. And so, uh, you know, me and Logan walked the floor on trade night, and so this is a comment for him. Dallas trade night was Sardine City. I could see where items could sprout legs. Some great comments here. Rich Klein. The dealer Jim spent most of his Saturday with told me he had a $950 sale at 1 a.m. on trade night. So always, they say nothing good happens after midnight. There's the exception to the rule right there. And I'm sure there were even bigger sales than that. I saw some cards at that, on that floor that were, five digits easily, and hi-fi divot. So and like John Keating says here but it's an extension of the show, not really the spirit of the trade night. But like Corey said, right, every hotel, in this case this year in Atlantic City, is going to have their own version of trade night in the lobby. I know where I was in Chicago last year, it was hard to like navigate through there. Like, excuse me, coming through. I almost felt bad, like I'm walking through a show and disrupting, even though I was disrupting, cramping their style. But so you're still going to have those along with the official, national on the floor trade night. And but financially, money is going to be probably more exchange hand than cards. Although I will say, in Dallas, I saw people had three cards here, and they were hey, we're close. Can I add this and can do the deal? So it is trading going on. So that's always nice to see. But like everything else, the hobby's evolving, and trade night is in a sense changing as well. Any kind of thoughts and reminder to Yam to get your itinerary set. But thought what obviously meeting people for the first time, meeting people for not the first time is a big thing for me. It's been a high spending month for me, but looking forward to. I've shut off any buying now till Atlantic City to kind of build up another little hopefully nest egg and buy another card or two off my. I'm doing graded Hall of Famers. That's my PC now, so hopefully pick off one or two more. There, but your thoughts. Assuming you're going, Corey. Kind of what you're looking for and how do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as I'm thinking about going, one interesting topic that came up that got me thinking for a moment, but I think I turned away from it, was that I heard that Bleecker Trading is asking, if people want to stay in New York City instead, they'll run a daily shuttle out to the National. Interesting concept. Sounds like a lot of fun. I know I could get my wife out to New York City easier than Atlantic City, certain kind of town more, but um, I would miss those connections. Though, if that bus is leaving at 6 p.m., I'm going to miss a dinner with friends. I'm going to miss the late night trading and making myself feel really old, being in a room of those trade nights in the hotel lobbies. I'm often stepping over 15-year-old kids that are trading 5, 6 figure cards. It's pretty wild. But it is really engaging and interesting, and it's what it's all about. So it's hard not to think about hunkering down in Atlantic City for at least a couple days. So as I think about it, it's connecting with people I enjoy. Just seeing online all year. I think I'll do the same thing, John. I love that idea. I love cards in my collection that have a story to them. Sometimes where they come from is as cool as the card itself when you're a collector. And so, I'm definitely banking to look for a fun non-sport card for me. Something like Prince's Rookie, or a few of those cards that are still on my checklist that they don't come cheap, they don't come up often, and sometimes the only place you find them is some of those booths at the National.
Yeah, no doubt. A couple minutes left. I'll let Dr. Jim kind of close it out. This is a gentleman that's been to every one. This is old hat, really, to him, but I know he loves it and enjoys it. Kind of your closing thoughts on the National this year,
Uh,
Dr. Jim.
Two things. If you go to the National with cards that you want to sell, that's better than going to the National with cards that you have to sell. I think you want to put
Yeah.
yourself in a position in your collecting where you don't have to sell stuff, that you making a choice that you want to sell some things. And secondly, I think there's a huge opportunity for party buses, whether they're coming from New York or Philadelphia or whatever, where it's a trade night on the bus, and you handpick your friends, and everybody's got a little case, and you stay at a hotel that's an hour away, but you're an hour on the bus. You have your own hors d'oeuvres or libations, whatever. But I think if you put together a 20 or 30 person party bus, it'd be like a fraternity party on a bus, with everybody loving the hobby and having a good time, Corey. So maybe you could have your cake and eat it too. Uh, but I think you'd have to handpick your teammates for that. But I think that'd be cool. You'd
I
fly into
want
Philadelphia. You'd stay in Philadelphia, but then you'd get on the bus, and the bus would bring you back, and it'd be a sleeper bus if you wanted to sleep. You know, it's just
well, why not a Dr. Jim's Texas to Atlantic City,
that's a
national
long
park.
bus ride. But I say Philadelphia, and like I say, it's Atlantic City is the tricky one because of just the Atlantic City element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is some opportunity for that. Um,
I'll get my gears turning. That sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe it's a one night in the
it's
city,
like
one night in
it's
Atlantic
like
City, and
I
take
don't
the bus
think
in and out.
I don't think they've
Yeah.
done this, but they could have a there's I don't know if y'all get pitched for cruises, but there could be a
Yeah.
sports card collector cruise, and you'd pack your luggage and your carry-on would be your cards. But if you were on again, I guess, but if wives were getting, if it's, the guy, typically the collector, and the wife comes along for a nice cruise, you could pay for the cruise with your sales on the ship, like a free cruise. I mean, I just think some enterprising promoters could put something together and be creative around the national, around the mid collective, the summit, or a cruise, and just have fun. I love being with hobbyists. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the main reasons to go to the national. You're gonna in one place. You're gonna have some amazing. If they're not already your friends, they have the potential to be close friends because we share this common bond. So, Corey, you got to be there.
I like it.
Yeah,
Mr. Newman, I want you to run with this idea, the SS hobby. Get it started, John.
Bring it on.
I'll be Gilligan. Hey, little, or I'll be Captain, or I could be the skipper. Hey, little buddy.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's going to do it. We're up against the hour. I want to thank Dr. Jim, Corey for joining me. Thank everyone in the chat, cousin Tony for jumping on the line with us. Have a wonderful and safe Memorial Day weekend. Take a moment to think about those who, we have these great freedoms, including card collecting. Take at least a moment to think about those who made the ultimate sacrifices so we can enjoy the freedoms that we do have. And so, with that, we'll bid you adieu, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday, and then once again back here a week from today. Take care, stay safe, be well, take care.